You're listening to the BBC World Service. I'm Julian Marshall with Newshour. There was a renewed sense of hope today among exhausted rescue workers in the hellish ruins of New York's financial district after reports that 5 firefighters have been pulled alive from the rubble of the World Trade Center. And hope is a rare emotion in what is becoming an increasingly desperate search for survivors after Tuesday's attacks, in which more than 5,000 people have now been officially confirmed dead or missing. Earlier today, the BBC's Timmins spoke to one of the volunteers involved in the New York rescue effort, a firefighter from Pennsylvania, Jimmy Gowan.
My friend and I, we both work at the same firehouse, Engine 13 and Ladder 1. We were watching TV last night and we just couldn't stand it anymore watching it. So we got in our car, drove up, got up here around 1, 2 in the morning. A couple guys showed us a way to get in over the bridge and we went right to work. We got here. What's up there is, it's like hell. It's more tolerable during the daylight, but at nighttime, it was an experience I've never seen, and God, I hope I never see again. We spent our day mostly removing like rubble, small debris, looking for people trapped under all those things, and they can't bring in heavy equipment because it might dislodge something and make the rescue effort even worse.
So what are you working with?
Our hands.
Your hands?
Our hands. Some guys were using picks and shovels, but at least where we were at, there wasn't really much more. There wasn't anything more sophisticated than that.
And there are still fires burning, obviously, because the smoke is still quite thick.
Well, there's so much debris. Those fires are going to burn for a long time. It's hot, it's smoky, and you can see fire lighting up here and there. I'm not 100% sure that that's like the main concern right now, because there isn't anything left to burn. It's just a disaster scene. It's a pile of rubble and it's huge.
Obviously you drove down here because you're a fireman and you recognise what the New York Fire Department has done here. Can you put into words why you've come?
I don't think so. Believe me, it's not just for the firemen, it's for everybody under there. Sitting home watching TV, like anybody else, holding back tears, and my stomach is jittery. I just couldn't stand it any longer. I told my wife, I can't sit here. I gotta go. I don't know what will happen for the rest of my life, but I'll tell you what. I think it was one of maybe the best thing I'll ever do in my life.
Jimmy Gowan and Timmins joins us live now on the line from New York. Jerry, the smell and the dust, these are things that radio and television can't possibly convey.
No, that's right, Julian. And really, New York City today feels like two cities, not one. In the northern part of Manhattan, things are getting back to a semblance of normality with traffic on the streets. But as you walk down through the police cordons, and they stop the traffic, they stop people getting through, you go through 3 cordons, and you get down to the last cordon, which is made of a National Guard. As you go through all that, the people disappear, the streets are deserted, the smell of smoke, acrid smoke, gets stronger and stronger, and the few people who are going in are wearing masks and respirators. And it's almost beyond words. One guy described it as a moonscape to me, which is about as good a description as I've heard. It's covered in dust. There's office detritus on the streets, so you end up walking through what must have been somebody's memo or something, and the smells, it just hits you in the back of the throat and you get dust in your eyes. And I got within about a couple of blocks before the National Guard turned me back, and when you just can't believe it when you see where the Trade Center was, because all that's left are these kind of fingers of steel sticking up from the ground, and the concrete has literally been obliterated. And as you go down, there are cars on either side that have been burnt out, crushed. I saw a fire engine with its windows blown out, with a forlorn fireman trying to put it back, put things back on it. And as you heard from that fireman, when you talk to people who walk out, they're emotionally shattered by it.
Jerry, very briefly, we did get those reports of 5 survivors having been found, but Jimmy Gowan there was speaking about having to use his bare hands amidst the rubble. It does seem like an increasingly fruitless search.
I think they're desperately trying to use the techniques that aren't going to kill anybody who's still in there. So there's earth-moving equipment down there, but they can't use it at the centre, in the most sensitive places. And I talked to one guy who would only say his name was Edward, who was from the morgue, who was identifying bodies, and he was very delicate in what he was saying. Essentially, he was a dentist who is identifying teeth and trying to come to some kind of conclusion about who may have been in there. But the devastation is so catastrophic, certainly in very large parts of the site. It's difficult to see how very many people are going to come out of that.
Jerry, many thanks. That was the BBC's Jerry Timmins speaking live from New York. You're listening to NewsHour from the BBC World Service.